Hi, Susan.
Hello. I'm sorry, folks. Just give me 1 minute. I'm popping you out a email. Hold on. I just had to make one minor change.
You've got an inverted ray.
Okay. I just shot out um, the packet. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, raised upside down. Okay, where do I have Bob
Yeah,
yet?
I don't know why I'm upside down.
I don't know why you are either, Ray. Um, I don't know how to spin you. I think you had, it's, sure.
I'm not upside down anymore.
Okay, I don't see Bob yet here. Let me just give him a. Did you both get my email with the packet?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry for the lateness, but it's probably not too much you haven't seen in there, but just wanted to give you a little something. I'm going to mute myself just. Okay, Bob's coming on. He'll be here in a sec.
Sorry, I was late. I apologize.
No problem. I was a minute behind myself.
Yeah. Are the other two guys on?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, we're not seeing Ray by camera, but I think he's fooling around with his camera, so
Okay.
he might be back in a minute on camera. Um, so we've got our agenda. Um, would you, so I haven't ran your meetings before like this. I'm not sure if I'm the one that shares my screen and does this. Would you like me to do that?
Yeah, I have to read the
Yep,
participatory
abs.
information to kick it off.
Okay. So I'm
You
gonna
could just,
sh I'm gonna
yeah,
share.
broadcast it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my, okay. Get rid of this. And can you see that?
Yes, I can. Let me read it. If you can
Okay.
keep scrolling up. I need the, in order to kick off the meeting, I need the, Erica gives us a cheat sheet that opens the meeting for each one of the meetings.
I didn't get the cheat sheet.
Yeah, basically it says that going to call the meeting to order, and we appreciate public comment in all meetings. The chair will be the one that oversees all comments, and we all need to conduct ourselves in a professional manner. And that's the opening
Sounds good.
That sounds
statement.
good. That sounds good, Bob.
Perfect. Well, and I'm going to
No,
call
don't need
the
to
meeting
repeat
to order.
anything.
Thank you.
Don't need to repeat anything.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
And then our next topic on the agenda is to appoint a committee chair and members. We all volunteered as the members, so we can also decide whether or not we want to have any substitute members as well, just in case there's a participation problem. We could add somebody on. Would anybody like to be the chair of the committee? I did it once before.
Nominate Bob.
Thank you. I'll take it. I'll accept it.
So we're proposing Bob, right?
Sure.
Yeah, second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, that's our roll call vote. Thank you. 3-0. The other point being, if we would like to add, again, a substitute member, just in case, nothing we need to do today. It's just something we should offer again. I know Pam said she was busy, but potentially Rich or Dave or somebody else, from the cab, we can just mention it to them if they'd like.
I know I'm happy to do that also, to have a cab member cover for me if I'm gonna miss. Yeah, so we can allow for that.
Excellent.
So you're gonna allow substitutes. You're gonna allow substitutes from the cab or the respective committee that's sending you.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
If there's a problem with attendance, and we don't have any nominations yet, but we'll ask, and if there are some, great. Okay, item number 3, review and approve the GM search process. Attachment 1. Susan, at this point, why don't you take over?
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to, hang on just one moment, because I wanna get, hang on just a minute. Hang on. Sorry about this. Sorry. I have to go back here and get our final document. I've been messing with, bear with me for a minute. I'm going to close my camera just for 1 second and I'm going to stop sharing is what I'm going to do. That makes it a little more comfy for me to move around my system here. Hold on. Okay. And I will pop back on and share my screen. Okay. Knock that out. Okay. So you guys can see the packet now?
Yep.
And I'll just scroll down past the agenda And we're into the GM process. This was the draft process that was put up for you at the original board meeting with all of the Board of Commissioners present. There was some discussion about adding in the timeline. I just want to forward to that. I'll go back to this, but in the windows here, when you started to talk about reviewing candidates, there was talk about the dates being a little short, that maybe they wanted to elongate the process and add a week during those interviewing weeks that were here, the screening of candidates. They thought that that was a little short, but I think they left it to this committee to decide how to change that.
Yep, this is just a suggested timeline, Susan.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
It's you know, as we get into it, I think, you know, it will be very dependent upon our ability to meet and screen and interview. So again, I don't mind leaving it, you know, as it is. It's good to have a timeline in place, so that we can kind of stay on track and have a schedule. But we'll you know, that's TBD, you know, as we get deeper into the process.
Okay, and I think that they were looking for you to approve the process that was talked about that night, and they said we'll let you approve the process and edit the process as you need to. Erica, if you're listening in, do you need a vote on that?
Don't see her.
Oh,
I don't believe we need a vote on the process. It's
okay.
just it says job advertising. Oops, go back up to the top.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Go right there. Keep going. Keep going. Job description. Job advertisement. We did that.
Yep, we did that. Okay, and we're gonna update you on that in just a minute.
Yep. So we're in our kickoff process. So we don't need a vote. So I think we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because main thing is like the BOC has already voted on this, right? It's already voted on 723, and the question would be, are you thinking of any changes to the process?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. If you guys are comfortable, I'm perfectly comfortable. I'm just going to move to the next. So the GM posting did go up. It went up on our site. It went up on the APPA site, and this is their version of our, you know, we sent them everything and they put it up. They have people who do this there, so they kind of feed it all into their system. As you can see, it's going to look just similar to what's on our site with the job description following it. And then the only change that was made when I posted this on, we were talking about referring people to our site. The way it works best is for them to go to, they can download the application, which we gave them a download for, and we kind of set that up in a way that was a shorter URL so they could be more comfortable doing that. And APPA, when you look at this, and sorry, I'm going fast. I'm just trying to find a button that's on this. Hold on. I don't know if it shows here. It might not print in the copy, but it has an apply button. When you hit that apply button, it's going to go to the exact same place that you go to from our website when you hit apply. All feeds through our HRIS software. It's really not HRIS software anymore. It's just a Jazz HR recruiting tool that we use where we keep track of all the candidates. So everyone's coming through the same thing. Northeast Power, same thing, has our ad up in the way that we wrote it with, I'm not going to spend too much time. You've read all this, and then the job description following it, just as ours, both of them have an apply button. I've tested it out. It goes right to where it's supposed to go. Where it lands, and this is kind of funky just because these don't print great. When I try to print our site, it doesn't. I'll show you what I mean when I say that. I took a screenshot so you could see what it looks like. Everything will feed right to this and apply for the position, and you can apply this way. These questions that are on the side, the first name, last name, when you follow through it, and I'll show you what it looks like when I print it. Why I didn't give you this kind of ugly copy, because I didn't want you to think it just looked like this. But you can see all the inputs on the side that people have to fill in. and the uploads of their cover letter, resume, and the application that we're requesting them to fill out. And our normal questions, again, the job description, and again, when you get to the bottom, you're getting a link to the application should anyone need to have it. So all of that is up and running. I know it's working because I received 2 applications.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I don't see Indeed.
Indeed, it happens automatically. Like, so when we put it on our job board, which is essentially this, it does go out to Indeed just through that, and we load it to the RMLD website, which has been done. So if you go to the RMLD website, you will, not website, RMLD LinkedIn, you will see it there.
Okay.
And it's also going on job boards, LinkedIn's, and several other job boards that are related to HR Jazz.
So last, just full clarity, last time we did this, we did get into using someone to help recruit candidates. But that was the discussion. Do we go to a firm that would help us find candidates? I don't think that we need to do that at this point, because I think you just wait and see what you get. And if we don't like the pool, we can further investigate doing a GM search firm. But we did go that. We had several discussions with different folks that, you know, basically specialize in recruiting, and a different, you know, maybe a different executive level recruiter. But again, we're not talking $1 million jobs here. So I think we'll be fine. And I think there's enough interest in the Reading job that between Indeed, LinkedIn, NEPA, APPA, I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
If needed, that would be added into the timeline if necessary.
Sure. And we certainly have used, I've used one recruiter since I've been here, and I've had a good experience with them. And we did try to recruit for some of the higher level director positions like engineering. They were able to provide us some pretty quality candidates. For whatever reason, you know, some fit, some didn't. And so if you want to go that route, I have some other resources too, but that is up to this board.
Okay.
And so I don't have anything more in this packet. So really, we looked at the job posting, and then the other piece of this we have on the agenda, if you want me to kind of talk about this, is the background and reference checks.
If you can go back, you know, back to it, the agenda.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Hang on just a second. I'll get better at this, I promise.
That's why you lean on Erin and
yeah, I know.
Erica.
Believe
You're like,
me.
hey, all right, come in.
If it
run
wasn't,
this for us, right?
I was having a little technological difficulties this morning, and that's always the way, right? Right when you're about to go live, something happens. So here we go. Bob, I don't want to steal your thunder, your chair. Do you want me to go through these? Because there's stuff that I'm going to tell you.
No, just so we're at 4.
Yep.
Okay, great. And then we said that we did background and reference check. The only thing that I would say, I know you're going to go through your RMLD process, which you detailed previously, that will help do those checks, because you're making everybody go through the process. The only thing that I would say, once someone puts their information in, and we have their reference sheets, I know I Google, I go in, I'll Facebook, and I'll start digging around and just say, hey, who's this person? Who's this person? Who's this person? Once I receive that reference list, or the person's resume, you want to look them up. You want to see, where they've been, what they've done, who their references are, and hey, it's just common sense, right, for all of us to do that and to check that out. Is there any newspaper articles? Are there any, anything you can find, right? That's out there. So, and it's just, simple knowledge for all of us to consider. But I don't think that's any
Actually, I have a little bit
different.
to
It's
tell you
just
about
they just
that.
printed it. Yep, go ahead.
Just, just make the distinction for yourselves. The looking up someone professionally on LinkedIn, perfectly fine. That's your calling card for your profession.
Mhm.
Googling them, we've been told in HR that's a no-no. Just because of the information, out there. There's a plethora of information on people, and people, they sometimes put it out there themselves. But the idea is to stay away from, there's always the connotation of find out their professional history through professional avenues, because there's pitfalls in the Googling thing. So we don't do that as HR people. I just want to say that clearly on here. And so I wouldn't recommend that, but I can understand professionally when someone's a public candidate, not a, when someone's public, obviously talking to people at that point. But when you're just looking it up, the professional references that they provide or they put out for themselves on LinkedIn, those kinds of things, definitely. And then,
yep, as long as we get it, that's good. Thank you.
And on the background and reference checks piece, I did check in with legal on this because I just didn't want to spout the same thing to you and say, background checks, why not to do them in the front end. But the piece I got from legal was very similar to what I was kind of thinking. They say their labor department position is that it is advisable that a query be considered the last step in the application process. Query being criminal offense register, kind of information. And so they recommend government entities only access query for applicants, ideally finalists who are otherwise qualified and meet all other requirements for the position they've applied. So that was their recommendation. Initially, I had gotten a little something different, which was sort of a split. Yeah, do the background check, but don't do the criminal check. And I said back to them, because I've heard what you were all saying, that it was really the criminal check that you were most kind of, inclined to check before you got to the end. So I sort of said, what do I respond to if the criminal check is really what someone wants in the beginning? And that was the response that I got. So that's the legal opinion on that for you to consider.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And then we're to the interview questions. And the response I got on that, I checked that one too, because I hate to be standing on these things alone, right? I want you to know that we really do our due diligence to kind of give you the information that we think is correct. And I know it's against, what people might think is the basis for common approach, but they do not let you develop interview questions in executive session. They say you develop interview questions in private. Now, there's different ways we can approach that, and maybe for the next meeting, I could suggest some alternative things. If they made a suggestion, well, you could assign like a type of question to each person, or have them, have a set of questions that's the public questions, and then have them bring their own for 2 or 3, that aren't vetted by the group, that aren't, talked about in public session. So there are some other ways we could go with that, but the feedback I got is that the initial,
could you just clarify what you meant by the last bit?
So like possibly having a group of questions that's vetted in public session that we will be using. You could do more questions than you were actually going to use, and then, choose the ones that you want to choose as you're going through the interview process, as long as it's the same for everyone. But the other piece of that is you could have a set accepted group of questions, and then have Bob bring 2, Vivek, you bring 2, Ray brings 2, maybe you're on specific topics, so you kind of stay away from each other in that. And then you have that sort of, and I don't want to say surprise, but you sort of have that unknown element to the questioning that I think, Bob, you were talking about the value of having someone come in more a little cold and seeing how their response would be. And I understand that. So that is kind
the
of
rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
that if that's the ruling, I saw that Erica sent that out, that we can't develop the questions in non-public environment. Okay, so we develop the questions, and we'll take maybe reference the ones we used last time, as the basis to start. And if there's anything else that we want to add, we get a pool of 8 to 10 questions, and like you said, we pick out of that pool. Okay. And
if you want to do ones that are unknown to the public, we can, assign a topic to each one of you maybe, and have you bring 2 questions on that topic, or, try to do something creative to get some of that in there, because I understand that you feel that value in that.
No, so that's interesting. So you're saying we can have questions that are not discussed in public, but the same questions would be asked of each candidate.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I'm just having a hard time hearing you, and that, I don't know why my tablet's not louder, but
Ray, you're very choppy.
Defining the basic question as we might in whatever public setting or forum we have, then the follow-up questions could be targeted, as you say, by one or one of us, as we might distribute that, which would be a logical follow-up to that question, but maybe not a public. So we're not surprising them on the topic, but we may be wanting to drill down more on a specific. So,
yeah, that's okay, right? So the questions here, but as you start the question, and in any interview, it's free form, right? You're there to get the attitude and aptitude of the applicant, and as you go and you have questions and you just have a discussion, that's normal, right? That's we're not, if there's an other discussion point that comes out of the question, that's okay, right? It doesn't have to, we're not stuck to just a question, answer the question. Okay, you can, as long as you ask the question, right, and in your discussion flows from that, right? Just like as we did with the interim, we can ask add-on questions as well, as long as we're consistent, right? We ask one and add on, hey, we'll expound on that or this. Well, as long as we're consistent with each one of the applicants and we ask them all the same, or free flow it the same way, and then that's acceptable.
Yep. And I think that occasionally, like you say, you'll be taken off course because of a respondent's answer, and you can follow up question that.
Okay. So I think we start with the ones that we did from before. If you have those, Susan, available, then we could distribute those to the committee, and then at least that way we can expound, expand on those, or add, subtract, whatever. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So the next topic, upcoming schedule and next steps. All right. So we're going to get candidates in. I'd say, we should stay meeting once a week at a minimum right now, to develop the questions. If you can get those out, Susan, at some point this week, the ones from last time. Vivek and Ray, I'd say if we could come back same time next week, if that works for you, then we can work on, have our questions ready. So as soon as we go through, kind of shake the tree a little bit, and then we'll have our questions ready to go.
That sounds great. Is there anything else you need on, just on the next agenda? We're going to be reviewing questions.
Yeah.
We're
one thing, Bob, if you don't mind, there's one point. There was a person who, Patty, I think, had nominated or had proposed that she'd like to join the committee.
That is
as
correct.
A non-voting member, as a non-voting member.
Who was that?
an employee of RMLD. This
Yeah,
is,
Patty Molino.
yeah.
Had
Okay.
expressed interest in joining the committee, and that was one of the things beyond appointing the chair. We were also going to discuss. The group had said last time that this group would decide if they wanted to add any new members. Patty Molino did reach out. She expressed her interest in being part of this group. We also haven't, if we are doing that, and we haven't put that out to say we're looking for an RMLD person to attend these meetings, but she is one person who did put her hat in the ring.
I don't mind her being on the committee as we develop questions. I do have some hesitation about the interview process with an internal employee. But you know, I'm open, but I can appreciate maybe somebody seeing candidates that's internal. You know, help in that process. I'm not opposed to that, but on the interview side, I don't know. My gut feel is no for an employee to be on the preliminary interviews, but on the searching and the questions, yes, I would welcome somebody to be on this committee. And that's my opinion, Ray and Vivek.
I think whoever joins the subcommittee would understand their unique role, and could apply, you know, the necessary discretion. I mean, you always kind of run that situation where people within an industry know people within the industry. MLPs are a small group of only 40 entities, so the fact that people know people, to me, is kind of not really a conflict. It's just how they act in that role, whether they act and with respect to their understanding of their input to the subcommittee is confidential to the subcommittee, and if they're friends with someone outside, they have to draw that line. And I think that's an understanding that people can have.
Vivek?
Yeah, no, so Susan, question for you from a process point of view. This was like a self-nomination on her part. Was there anyone else, like, do we need to reach out to others and let them know this is happening, or we just, so the first piece is, how do we get names for the committee?
Yeah, and I'm taking nothing away from Patty saying this. She's wonderful. I don't have a problem with her candidacy at all, but I also do, you know, from the HR perspective, I think that during our open meeting with the Board of Commissioners, there was a general feeling that you weren't appointing anyone else. And so if you were, you may want to give that, you know, opportunity for other people to ask if they wanted to be part of it, and then choose one out of the people that you have. That's totally up to your committee, but she took the initiative to reach out to you, so it's really your call on that. But if you are trying to put someone on, I don't know if anyone's going to come late and say, I didn't know, you know, I could potentially join. I don't know how others would feel. And I haven't heard anything else about other people wanting to be on.
I would limit it to one representative. I would not have multiple.
Yeah, not suggesting multiple, Bob, just suggesting that you're choosing from just suggesting the option of you would decide if you want to choose between a candidate pool of RMLD employees, or you want to take the person with the initiative who has to be on.
I would take the person with the initiative who has to be on and move forward at that. That would be, you know, and I know we did mention that, but that's where I would say that, you know, her participation is welcome. But when we get to the interview process, I just want to be clear that at that point, I would not want an employee to be engaged in the interview process.
I don't quite know how to do that. If they're a committee member, I would, you know, and it's kind of a limited committee member, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know quite how to carve that out and have that person be present and be giving input, but then not be able to give input later.
So they are a non-voting committee member, right? They are a non-voting committee member. So
they could be like me.
Let's see who are the voting committee members on this committee, right? So I think we have three members right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we have 3 voting committee members. And we'll keep it at that, as you're saying, Bob. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But I think if you read the email from her, she was saying she's volunteer, she can provide perspective, or she's had the experience of dealing with several general managers and can provide that perspective.
Sure.
Okay. Susan, if I could ask, if you would suggest that to Patty, if that's okay with her, more than well, I would welcome her onto the committee.
Being a non-voting member. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think her message said something like that.
And being in attendance at all of the interviews.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. As a non-voting member and confidentiality observed and all that. I'm sure she knows that, but okay.
Okay. So if we go into next steps.
Yeah, Judge, I'm sorry, Bob, I looked at her email. I would like to express my interest in serving as a non-voting member. So she's not asking to be a voting member.
Okay.
Oh, well, perfect. That's that. I'm hired. Right. So we will add Patty. Is everyone okay next week at the same time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I believe
Ray?
let me just
It's the 3rd. Oh, excuse me, not the 3rd. It is.
Hold on just a minute. I'll look in my calendar as well. Here.
Yeah, I'm good for next week at this time from 11 to 1. That works for me.
Yep. I would hope we'd never have to be 11 to 1, but should be. But if we'll discuss questions. The agenda topics for next week will be interview questions.
Okay. And is that pretty much all you're going to discuss next week?
That's all I can think of. The only other comment that I have is, if people do reach out, to committee members or board members, I would say, field a phone call. But I mean, if they have a question, again, direct them to apply through the process that it's been out there. But they might have a question about RMLD or whatever. I don't want to I would not want to ever refuse to talk to somebody if they had a question. You're not talking details. You're not talking about hiring them. So if they have a general question, but again, at the end, just again point them to the application process.
Right. And there will be a time for that later, in the process. If someone's coming up with questions at some point in this and they're being interviewed,
Yep.
Rather than on the front end as a candidate. So.
Yep. No, there's always questions now. Should I, could I, would I, and that's understandable. All right. Okay. If anybody else does not have any more items, move that the RMLD Search Committee adjourn regular session. Roll call vote required.
Second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Wait, what are I?
Vivek Soni, aye.
Bob Coulter, aye. Thank you. And thank you,
Thank you.
Susan. Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.